When I describe King Kang-Mi to people, I say it's this low-budget short film we shot at this cool tiki bar in one day. But that only really tells a small part of the story. The idea for Legend of King Kang-Mi came from Robert Adamson. He and his wife Ying are the ones who built the Strongwater Bar. He's got backstory to the bar. We'd done their first short film, Zombie King of Malakambay.
It's quite the ghost story.
Robert said, let's do another one. I've got this mug, I've got this name. King Kang-Mi means king of the snow creatures in Tibetan. And he's like, so what if there was this king of the Yetis? And what if the king of the Yetis got killed? Like, what would happen? How do we do this on a one-day shoot inside the bar?
Brian has a really good vision, but I think also he's very good at sharing his vision. Even in the script, like as soon as I read it, I was like picturing everything. When I got to talk to him about the shot list, we were already kind of synced up.
We were in a smaller space for Zombie King. We're in a bigger space now. How can we shoot this bigger, light this bigger? It's just such a immersive space that we wanted to be able to show off as much of it as possible. But with that, it also makes Kiana's job harder, going in and changing the whole thing from a tropical oasis to a frozen ship that's stuck in the ice.
The bar has lots of plant life that's coming over the benches and hanging from the ceiling, and so we took those out and we replaced them with other plant life that's more winter themed and put frost all over the glass and the mirrors and snow.
My original vision had just been it would be foggy and kind of dark. In writing the script, I sent it to our VFX artist who created this amazing image of the ship at sunset. And I loved it so much, I was like, okay, but how do we do sunset, but then night later when you're outside of the ship? Townsend brought this idea of this lighting progression of it starts off more kind of warm and it gets colder and darker as it goes.
Brian's not afraid to go the extra mile and take risks and be ambitious and have fun and make it such a big film. We wanted to make it feel really moody and really exciting. My gaffer, JD Elliott, he does a lot of like DMX lighting designs. We're plugging in different effects for each lighting change that we did throughout the day.
The first lighting progression happens when you first hear the creatures outside the ship, so it's starting to get darker and more mysterious. Pause for lighting change and fog. The last light progression happens when you reveal the severed head. Last lighting change and switch the head, and let's do a little more fog, just a little bit. So that it's as dark as it's going to get at that point. And so it really worked thematically with what was happening, but we just knew if we were gonna do this line progression, we were going to have to do a lot more work in pre-production to make sure we could pull it all off in the very short time frame. Along with the complicated side of the lighting change, Townsend and I talked about where to place actors and how to block it.
We have so many different characters and they're kind of in different spots throughout the bar. The camera's gonna have to be all over the scene. I told Brian, we really need to figure out how we're gonna shoot this. We can't just do like normal cross coverage. We made like a diagram of the Strongwater Bar and we put little guys on each side, and then we figured out each camera position that we would need for the whole scene.
I think probably the most pivotal thing we did in pre-production was visiting the location.
Me and the DP and the director talked through, where we were gonna be, what the setups were gonna be, where our safe zones where we weren't shooting were gonna be, so we could stow all of our stuff and all of the stuff we took down to winterize it.
That location scout really solidified what the plan was going to be, but then also helped fill in things like in the script and in my imagination. When the tracker enters, he would just walk in the front doors, and we were like, maybe we'll tent it, maybe we'll put a green screen outside. But then as I was seeing renderings from the VFX artist of the ship stuck in the ice, I realized you have to go through a trap door.
And we thought through this like ladder that he comes down, and then we're like, okay, but what door does he come through? And that's the part that I really trusted our director and DP, because they got this idea, because if you haven't been to Strongwater, the bathrooms are crazy cool and the doors are these massive, thick doors that have like 15 locks on them. They have a really cool texture to them. They decided, okay, we'll turn the camera and act like the door is a hatch. At the time, my brain just was like, no idea what that means. Cool. Hope that works out for us, because I don't have a better plan.
In that location scout, it helped us realize all the pieces we were missing by just looking at the words that we put on paper, and helped us realize how to make this a fully immersive film and not just figuring it out on set. So we had a really short time frame to shoot this whole thing. We had 4 a.m. to 4 p.m. The bar staff showed up at 4:30 and they opened at 5. We had to do this entire 7 or 8 page dialogue-driven script in those 12 hours, and that includes the loading in, the changing from tropical to wintry, shooting the whole thing, loading out, and changing it back to tropical before the bar opened. Juliana, who produced and AD'd this film, she has to work the schedule and figure out, okay, how can you do all these things and fit it all in?
And when we rolled up really late at night or early, we had that plan ready to go and we were able to enact that.
We kind of had like 3 main factors. The lighting setup, just because we wanted to do those lighting changes. The challenge was kind of balancing that with just the time that we had.
Too bad to take one. Mark?
Keeping track of eye lines and camera positions. A lot of the shots I handheld operated, which can get pretty tiring. The biggest thing I think that helped us was just planning out like a week ahead of time and diagramming everything.
There was very little tweaking of the performances on set because we had really worked on the performances on Zoom ahead of time. In pre-production, we decided where those lighting changes would happen. And so even the actors, they had their 3 acts memorized. So we would be like, okay, we're doing act 1, and we'd run through that several times. And then we'd stop, we'd change the lighting, we'd say, now it's act 2. They'd go through act 2 until that was done. And then we'd change the lighting again and go to act 3. Bang!
Secure the hatch!
Even down to the emotional beats for each act of the film, that was all decided on in rehearsal, so that way on set we could just execute.
Secure the hatch!
Everything went really smoothly. Load in actors, wardrobe. Kiana and Ash did a great job of transforming the bar very quickly. We were able to really immerse an audience in this story that feels like a whole complete world. I did the edit on this film. Townsend had the great suggestion on set of having actors deliver lines to both sides of camera, because depending on what the previous shot is in the sequence, one eye line would work on one side of the camera, but if I picked a different shot previous to it, they needed the other eye line. The edit took a long time just taking all of those things into account, then round tripping through color and visual effects and all these different aspects of it. Even before we'd even shot the thing, we were shooting different previs things to make sure that this was gonna work and was gonna marry in with the shots that we were gonna be getting on set. It was a really long process, but extremely collaborative, with the whole team getting to speak into creating a cohesive look and feel to the film. Our sound designer, Tyler Roark, and composer Andrew Gerlicher, they got to kind of come in once it was almost entirely together. Andrew got to be really inspired for the music and get to see exactly what the film was going to be like. And Tyler, he was already seeing the visual effects and seeing this whole film put together, and they both had a really short timeline to hit that release date that we were going for. And they just both did an incredible job at Tyler building out this soundscape that just implies that bigger world. On the other side, Andrew just really creating an eerie, mysterious feel that just keeps building and building. I was just focused on getting the main score for the film done, and then Andrew said, like, well, what do you want to do for the end credits? In a dream world, it would be its own original sea shanty about the Legend of King Kang-Mi. And he's like, okay, cool, let's do that. And I was like, we can do that?
When Brian showed us the short for the first time, he hadn't really told us that the composer had done, like, created a full original song with Nina, who plays our captain, singing. And I think, kind of to what I was saying earlier about building a whole world, like, it left audiences with this feeling of, oh, we didn't just watch a short, like, that's some bigger story that we got a little preview of.
It's fun to show people how well everything came together. The sound design did so much to the final product, and the music, and just the performances. On a lot of projects, it's like, how can we make this realistic and feel true to life? And then on this project, it was like, let's just like go to 11 and like make it as crazy as possible. I think if anyone else would have made this film, it wouldn't have had just like the gravitas and the excitement that King Kang-Mi does. Brian just pushed it like 110%, and it just feels like something so much bigger